For today's video, I wanted to talk about introversion. For a long time, I didn't even realize that being introverted shaped so many of my choices in life, how I work, how I rest, how I relate to people, and how I imagine my future. So, in this video, I just wanted to talk about a few psychological facts about introverts in a very simple, human way. This isn't a lecture, and it's definitely not a checklist. Think of this as a quiet conversation, something you can listen to while resting, cleaning, or maybe you're just sitting with your thoughts. As I go through each point, you might recognize yourself, or you might not, and both are completely okay. Psychological facts number one is that introverts don't hate people. They get drained by stimulation. One of the biggest misunderstandings about introverts is that we don't like people. That's usually not true. Introverts can enjoy conversations, friendships, and even social gatherings. What drains us isn't the actual people themselves, it is the stimulation, like noise, constant talking, crowded spaces, having to respond, react, and be on for long periods of time. Psychologically, introverts process stimulation more deeply. That means our brains are kind of working harder even when things seems casual. So when we choose to be alone, it's not because we are avoiding connections, it's because we are recovering. Personally, I noticed this very clearly in a group settings. When I'm surrounded by a lot of people, I feel overstimulated very quickly. After group conversations, I feel more drained than energized. Not because I don't enjoy being there, but because I'm trying to listen to everyone. And when multiple people are talking at the same time, I'm dividing my attention, trying to absorb what each person is saying. And that is because I want to make sure everyone feels heard. And by the time it's my turn to speak, my energy is already low. So I often end up listening more than talking, not because I don't have anything to say, but because my energy is already spent. Psychological fact number two: introverts think first, then speak after. Another psychological trait of introverts is internal processing. Introverts tend to think things through before saying them out loud. So we reflect, we organize our thoughts internally, we replay conversations in our head, sometimes even long after they have ended. That is why introverts can seem quiet in group settings, not because they don't have opinions, but because they are still processing. For an introvert, silence usually means thinking, not disengaging. I've had many moments where friends or colleagues of mine would say something like, Abby did not really say much today, or Abby did not even say anything today. Abby did not even participated in the conversation. Those kind of comments, I do get them a lot. And on the outside, that might look like I wasn't interested, but on the inside, I was actually thinking a lot. I'm someone who speaks slowly, not because I'm unsure, but because I'm choosing my words carefully, especially when I talk about myself. I don't like oversharing and I don't like saying things I haven't fully processed yet. So when it's my turn to speak, I usually pause, even if it's just for a few seconds, to organize what I want to say. And in group conversations, especially with extroverted people, that pause matters. I've noticed that many extroverts speaks faster, They already know what they want to say, and they say it as soon as the thought comes. This isn't a criticism, it's just my observation. But because of that difference, there are moments when by the time I'm ready to share something, the conversation has already moved on. Everyone else has already spoken, everyone has already, expressed their thoughts and opinions. And sometimes it feels like people are more focused on being heard than on listening to the next person. So I end up staying quiet, not because I have nothing to add, but because I don't want to rush my thoughts just to keep up. There are also moments when I'm already, mentally tired from listening. Listening for introverts takes a lot of energy. When I'm in a group, I'm not just hearing words, I am paying attention to the tone of voice, to their emotions, body language. I want people to feel that I'm really present and actually listening. And that effort alone can be exhausting. So by the time it's my turn to speak, my energy is already low. And I've learned to accept that. I no longer force myself to talk just to prove that I am engaged. I've realized that my way of participating, through listening, reflecting, and responding when I'm ready is valid too. Being quiet doesn't mean I'm being passive. It just means your thoughts are taking a different path before they come out. The third psychological facts about introverts is that introverts prefer fewer relationships but deeper ones. Introverts are often selective with relationships, not because we're not because we are distant or because we don't care, but because emotional connection costs energy. And introverts are very aware of where their energy goes. Psychologically, introverts feel safest in relationships where they don't have to perform, where they don't have to explain themselves, where silence isn't awkward, where present doesn't necessarily require constant interaction. That is why many introverts have smaller social circles, uh, keep long term relationships or friendships, and they value depth over frequency. It's not about quantity, it's about emotional safety. Personally, I don't have a lot of friends myself. I have very few, and I'm okay with that. We don't talk every day, we don't message constantly, we don't check in all the time. I'm that kind of friend who believes that loyalty doesn't need daily proof. I want my friends to know that I'm here, even if we haven't spoken in weeks or even months, because I understand that life happens. Life moves on. We all have different responsibilities, different faces, different priorities. And honestly, when I meet a friend after not seeing them for a long time, the conversation feels a lot richer. It feels a lot more genuine. There's excitement, there's curiosity, there's more to share. We talk about what we've been through, what changed, what did not change, what stayed the same. And for me, that feels more meaningful than daily updates. I know there are people who prefer friendships where you talk every day, text constantly, see each other all the time. And I personally used to have friendships like that too, especially when I was a lot younger. But as I grew older, and especially now that, I'm in my 40s, I realized that capacity for connection changed a lot. Most of the people I grew up with now have their own families. They have childrens now, they have responsibilities that demand their time and energy constantly. And I have huge respect for that. I do not expect daily presence from them, just like they don't expect it from me. And because I'm single and often spending time alone, I have learned to be comfortable with my own company. I've learned that I don't need constant social interaction to feel fulfilled or connected. I also realized that having a smaller circle allows me to show up better When you have too many people to keep up with, you start spreading yourself thin. You end up responding out of obligation, or you're meeting out of pressure and listening halfway because you're already tired. With a small circle, I can be fully present. I can give my full attention without feeling drained. I can listen without rushing. I can care without feeling overwhelmed. It's also more practical for me. Planning is easier, communication is clearer, there's less pressure to please everyone. And for me, that kind of friendship feels very sustainable. I mean, I still have friends who are extroverted. I still enjoy their company and their energy, but I also need space, and they understand that. And I guess that is the key. The friendships that actually last for introverts are usually the ones where space is respected and connection doesn't come with demands. Number four, psychological facts about introverts. Introverts are highly self aware. Introverts spend a lot of time in self reflection. We notice patterns, we notice shifts in moods, we notice when something feels off, sometimes even before others do. Psychologically, that often makes introverts very self aware. But honestly, self awareness can feel like both a gift and a burden, in my honest opinion, because when you notice everything, you also feel everything. Over the years, I became really good at what people call, reading the room. And when I say that, I mean, I can usually sense the energy in a space within minutes. I can tell if someone is genuinely happy to see me. I can tell if someone is just pretending to be happy to see me. I can tell if someone is just being polite. I can tell if someone's mood is off, and even if they're smiling. And sometimes I wonder if that came from age, or if it came from being an introvert who spent a lot of time observing instead of talking. Because when you are quiet, you notice more. You notice body language, you notice tone of voice, you notice when words don't match actions. it, it's not that I'm trying to judge people. It's more like I'm always scanning. And because of that, I've become very careful with who I give access to. When it comes to friendships, I can usually tell early on if someone is genuine or not. Some people are kind, but you don't feel safe with them. Some people are friendly, but they're not consistent. Some people are good to talk to, but they're not someone you want to build a deeper connection with. And I don't try to expose them or confront them. I'm not that type of person. I just simply adjust my distance. Like, I still stay polite to them. I'm still civil. I still say hi and have small conversations here and there. I still keep things light, but I don't really invest too much of my time and energy to them, because I've learned that not everyone deserves my energy. And I think that's one thing about introverts. We don't necessarily always have the biggest social circles, but we are usually very intentional about the people we keep close. Number five, psychological facts about introverts is that introverts recharge alone, not because they're lonely. For introverts like myself, solitude is very regulating. Time alone calms our nervous system, it lowers our stress levels, it restores our focus, and this isn't emotional weakness, it's more like biological. Introverts recharge internally, just like how extroverts recharge externally. Neither is better, they're just different. And once introverts accept that, life gets a lot easier because you stop feeling guilty for needing space. And for me personally, uh, it took a long time to finally give myself permission to leave alone. If you watch my previous videos, you probably already know that I'm working abroad and living abroad. It can get really expensive. So for almost 9 years, I lived in shared accommodation in what we call partitions. So just for context, it's basically like a one bedroom flat or apartment, and the landlord will divide the space in multiple smaller spaces or partitions to rent it out to multiple people. You technically share everything together with all these other people. You share the kitchen, the bathroom, you share the noise. And I do understand why people do it because I've done it for 9 years, like I said, because it's very practical and it saves a lot of money. But if you are an introvert like myself, it's very hard to adapt. And because you're not just sharing space, you are sharing energy. The biggest challenge for me isn't even the mess sometimes. It the biggest challenge is the lack of control because everyone has different schedules, and like in my case, I work at the airport, so I work on shifts. So there were days I needed to sleep in the morning or during the day, and that's exactly the time other people are awake or active. That's the time they have to do their cooking, they move around a lot. That's the time they video call with their family back home, the time when they want to watch their favorite shows. Even if they're not loud, I'm a very light sleeper. And when you are a light sleeper, even small noises feels big or loud. And when you're already tired from work, lack of sleep hits you differently. There were times when I would finally fall asleep, and then all of a sudden the kitchen starts clanging, or someone walks in and out of the room, or someone has invited the visitors in the middle of the night. And yes, you can complain. You can tell the landlord about it and ask the landlord to speak to your flatmate or to the other tenant. But in the end, it's still a shared living space, and not everyone will adjust for you, and they shouldn't have to. That's why I kept telling myself for years, I just have to endure this. I just have to be patient, and the time will come that I will be out of this place, or I will be out of this situation. So when I turned 40 last year, I decided to finally do it. I felt like I have sacrificed enough. I have sacrificed a lot of sleepless nights, restless nights, and I told myself I want my own place. I need my own place. Even if it's gonna cost me more, even if I know that it's gonna affect my savings big time. Because nowadays, peace is not free anymore. I just have to be brave, and I just did it. And honestly, it changed everything for me. I finally rest better now. I feel more regulated. I can cook whenever I want. I can use the bathroom whenever I want. I sleep and wake up without negotiating with anyone. And I know it sounds simple, but it's not, because when you've been sharing space for years, having your own place feels like breathing properly again. And it also helped me to finally create this YouTube channel, because how can you create content or reflect or film videos when you don't even feel fully comfortable in your own space? I was able to create, short form content before, but mainly like it's not a talking video, it's a silent video. Now I'm able to like, talk in the video and not have to worry if I'm disturbing someone. So yes, alone time isn't loneliness for us introverts. For some of us, it's just how we simply survive. Number six psychological facts is that introverts are often misread as shy or unmotivated. One of the hardest parts of being an introvert is being misunderstood. Introversion is often confused with shyness, insecurity. Um, we're being called boring, or that we lack ambitions. Shyness is fear of judgment. Introversion is about where your energy goes. I've noticed this at work a lot because I don't really share much about my personal life, and people get curious. They ask questions like, "So what do you do on your day off? What why don't you post on social media? Why are you always quiet?" And sometimes I just simply consider it as innocent curiosity. It feels like people assume something is wrong. Like if you're not loud, you must be sad, and if you're not constantly social, then you must be lonely. But for me, I'm quiet because I am protecting and saving my energy. I also say no to a lot of hangouts invitation a lot, not because I don't like to join my colleagues, but because my free time is very limited. And if I'm not well rested, I won't be my full self. I've already tried going out before when I was like, have very less sleep, when I'm already tired. I would show up, but my energy would be off. I wouldn't really enjoy doing anything. And I could tell that the people I'm with will actually notice it. So now I only say yes when I know that I genuinely have the energy to show up. When it comes to the part where people say that introverts lacks ambition, it's basically because we're very quiet and very private. But I've also learned to be careful with what I share to people because success looks different for everyone. Some people are motivated by promotions, titles, climbing the corporate ladder, and I do respect that because that used to be the way for everyone. But for me, as I'm getting older, my goals have changed over the years. Now I want autonomy, I want peace, I want work that I can do quietly. I want to build something from home. I remember I had a conversation once with someone who was very, traditional. They believed that the only successful path was the corporate path. So you do work for the company for many years and wait until you get promoted and wait until you get a salary increase. You consider this as a stable job forever. And when I shared my goals to this person, I have a totally different idea of success compared to him. And my goals, I told him, is to be self employed. I want to earn money through freelancing, so I'll have a lot of extra time to spend with my family and with my friends. I want to build an income online where it's going to be automated. I don't have to work 8 to 10 hours a day. And he shut it down. He told me my ambition wasn't really practical, that I will not get all these benefits that you can only get by working for a company, and it's not realistic. And I do understand and I do respect his opinions. But after that, I stopped sharing my dreams with people who don't understand them. Not because I'm ashamed, but because I learned something important from that conversation. Not everyone is meant to hold your dream with care. So now I'm quieter about my plans, and I don't think that makes me unmotivated. It just means my motivation is private. I want to move slowly and quietly. Also, for me, in my opinion, wanting a slow, simple life doesn't mean you have no ambition at all. It just means your definition of success is different. And some people may or may not understand that, and that's okay. Number seven psychological facts about introverts is that introverts thrive with autonomy and meaning. Research shows that introverts thrive when they have control over their time, fewer interruptions, meaningful work. This is why introverts often struggle in constant meetings, customer facing roles, noisy, fast paced environments. I don't even know how the heck I managed to stay in the customer service industry for the past 2 decades. I have no idea how I managed to stand it. So this only means that introverts can't handle pressure. It's that constant exposure costs more for us. And over time, that cost accumulates. This part really resonates with me because, again, of my current job and the job that I was doing for the last 2 decades. I work in the customer service industry and I'm currently working at the airport. And the airport isn't a very calm environment. It is not the safest place for introverts like me. It is loud, it is chaotic, and very unpredictable. Every day you deal with different types of people, your colleagues, the management, your customers, or your passengers. Every day is a different situation. So, yes, despite the fact that I am an introvert, I can do it. I can talk, I can assist, I can smile, I can solve problems, but I am simply very drained and tired inside. I'm tired of constantly being on, tired of people pleasing, tired of forced social energy, just tired of pretending I'm fine when I'm so drained already. And I think a lot of introverts relate to this. Sometimes it's not the work itself that drains you, it's the constant interactions. It's the constant need to be emotionally available for people. It is the pressure to keep your tone polite, your face calm, your patience intact or longer, even on days when you are struggling the most. And the hardest part is having so little control over all of this. I just wanted to go on break whenever I want or whenever I need to. I want to go for vacation when I want to. I don't want to ask someone else, and I don't want someone deciding this for me. I want a life where I can work independently, one where my effort goes into something meaningful to me. And I know it's possible because I have seen so many people build this kind of lifestyle by just simply freelancing or working from home or remotely. They build their empire online, and majority of them just build their own businesses by themselves. They are a one man show. They simply create digital products or they promote products through affiliate marketing. They do print on demand. Those are the kind of works that I wanted to have for myself. And seeing that people can actually do it alone, quietly, and that they are thriving while doing so, it gives me the confidence that I can do it too. That is why I am preparing for my exit. I'm not trying to escape work, not like that. Again, I was very clear from my previous video that despite the fact that I am planning to leave my job, I have so much respect for it that I will not just leave it, that I will not just quit in a very reckless way. I'm trying to choose a kind of work that matches how my brain and my body actually functions because the truth is, introverts can thrive, just not in environments that constantly drain and challenge our nervous system. And that's the shift I'm moving towards, slowly. So, those are the 7 psychological facts, and hopefully, you're able to relate to some of them and you're able to identify whether you are actually an introvert or if you're becoming an introvert or if you're actually not an introvert. So basically, being an introvert isn't something to fix, it's something to understand. We are not broken toy. We don't need fixing. We just need people to understand that we're not the same like everyone else. And as an introvert, once you understand how your energy works, you stop fighting yourself. You stop forcing a life that looks good on the outside but feels very heavy on the inside. And you finally start choosing what supports you quietly, intentionally, and without any apology. If any part of this video resonates with you, I am more than happy to listen to your thoughts. I am more than happy to read your comments if you have anything to say about those psychological facts that I just shared with you. Do you agree with them or you don't agree with them? Whatever your thoughts are, feel free to share it on the comments down below. And I am so happy that you are here, especially if you reach this part of the video in the end. Thank you for sitting with me today, and I hope to see you on my next video. Bye.